According to our budget finance meeting for April, it is April the 29th, 2026. So, let's see here. I will call the meeting to order. And Mr. White, you want to give us a invitation?
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you've given us. Lord, I ask that you be with us this morning as we go through our budget and finance. Lord, help us to be good stewards of what you bless us with. Lord, we thank you for this great country that we live in. Lord, we thank you for this state and for this town that we love so much. Lord, help us to make good decisions and to do what's best for our residents here in this town. Lord, we love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Vote. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You get a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Rodenroth
Here.
and Councilman Lewandowski. Here.
Thank you.
Mayor, you've got the quorum of two.
Any public comments?
No, ma'am, we do not have any registered public comments, and we do not have members of the public in attendance today.
Okay. So, we'll look at the minutes. Do you have any thoughts about the minutes, Mr. Dan?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
Looks good.
all right. We'll move on to our action items for the March budget and performance.
Yes, ma'am. And so I'll just kind of jump in here. Bottom line is, if you look at where we are performing, I was just going to kind of talk big ticket items, this income real quick. And I'm operating off my hard copy, so just bear with me. Total income.
This is for which category?
So this is general funds
Okay.
for performance. And if you look at total income so far this year, right now is $943,000 and some change. We were expecting 864 year to date at this point, so we are ahead of projected. And the total income in the initial budget is 1.5 million. So we do have a ways to go, but we are performing on income a little bit ahead of what we expected. And then if you go to just bottom line at expenses, over here is total expenses. So for year to date, we've expended 765,000 and some change, or actually 766,000. Year to date budget is 740. So we're maybe about 25,000 over projected. But that's within I think a reasonable tolerance at this point. Annual budget was 1.6 million, and so like I said, about $25,000 above what we projected when we built. That's not straight line. That's with the adjusted budgetary work that we did over the last couple of months. So close, but slightly over, but nothing concerning as you look through overall in general. So. And then in the income, I'm going over to the balance sheet. I'm just going to find it, make sure I've got it here. So here, that's the balance sheet. If you look at what we were holding in the Marist bank account, the general account right now is 657, rounded up to $658,000 in the bank account. Plus 3 CDs. One of those CDs at roughly $130,000, one at $67,000, and one at $65,000. So we have healthy cash flow and only about $25,000 over budget line at this point in time for the general fund. And then happy to answer any questions about the subordinate areas if you would like.
So in general, we're at about 1.835, 124?
I'm sorry.
The total of liabilities and equity, when you take out.
Oh, when you're looking at the balance sheet?
Mm-hmm. Balance sheet.
And I've said this several months in a row, the balance sheet has got a lot of, I could run that calculation, if I could pull it up here in a second, I'm still waiting for my computer to reboot.
Mm-hmm.
The balance sheet has still got a lot of noise in it over the
Okay.
last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't,
So some of
as
that's
a
not
city,
really-
we haven't spent a whole lot of time cleaning up a lot of issues that are still in there. We're working with Rebecca, our CPA,
Okay.
to get it cleaned up. That's why I called off the major issues, which is the balance that's sitting in the bank account, plus the CDs tell you the total cash position of the city. And so in general, we're looking good. And then if you wanted to ask that question again, I could look at the numbers specifically that you were asking about, Mayor.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the round numbers
Mm-hmm.
and how it's all adding up.
The problem in this balance sheet is when we built the budget and took it in front of the state, one of the things that we had to do was add in the carry forward and then the carry out or reserves into the budget. And what that did was get us to, it showed basically you have to get it to a zeroed out budget.
Mm-hmm.
The problem when we got into the fiscal year and started executing, we kept those numbers in the year of execution balance sheet. It carried forward into the it carried forward into the balance sheet out for the budget into the balance sheet,
Mm-hmm.
and it double counts it.
Oh,
And so it's the balance sheet is seeing the amount that's actually in the bank account, and then it's also because we had carry forward in our budget document or the income expense document, we had to pull that number, which was effectively what the balance is at the change of the fiscal year in the bank account.
Mm-hmm.
So that number was carrying out of our budget document into the balance sheet, and it was double counting some of that income. And that's why we're trying to get that cleaned up. We have, over the last couple months, pulled most of the carry forward items and out of the budget document, the income and expense document.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still looking to see why in some of these balance sheets it's still showing up again. And so we're trying to work through making sure it's completely cleaned up and it shows an accurate representation of our fiscal condition. But right now, the balance sheets, I think it's safe to say, aren't an accurate
Rebecca took a
representation.
copy of our QuickBooks with her to try to figure it out.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things kind of down here at the bottom that you'll see. Example, employee FRS contribution, that's probably legitimate, but there's 401k contributions that are years old that we're trying to figure out what they are, how do we get them documented, and how we get them cleared appropriately. But there's quite a few
Definitely old
issues.
data.
But the city hasn't really been operating, it is my impression that over the past few years, we haven't really been given a hard look at the balance sheet document and getting it cleaned up. And then you add that on top of the new issues that I injected by putting carry forward in there.
Mm-hmm.
It makes my head hurt every time we get in it. So we're just trying to clean it up a little bit at a time. It's getting better, but it's not perfect.
Okay. I just look at the bottom numbers and just seeing the differences. That's why I was asking. Any questions, Kim?
So, a couple of observations. First, thank you for your hard work on this.
Yeah, you know it's been hard.
Yeah, we did
We know
not
you
have
do a
a
lot.
real accountant in your position, Tiffany, or anyone with any real experience,
Exactly.
and this has been a mess to clean up. So, thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Yes. Second, for our general fund expenses and budget worksheet, I know we cleaned this up in one other place, but on page 13 of 34, or also page 2 of 6, depending upon which numbering system, we still have the words gross profit. So I would
I knew
like
you were
that.
gonna see that.
Yeah,
It's,
I saw that yesterday.
and I think I tried to explain it. So what happens with this each time is Tiffany exports, there's a baseline document worksheet that sits in QuickBooks that she exports into Excel. And so it's a matter of us finally getting in there and changing that baseline document, but it hasn't, to be honest with you, if you don't remember to delete it out of the Excel spreadsheet, it's
I
gonna
think
keep
I'm more
repopulating.
concerned about the numbers being correct than
yes.
that.
Understand,
But that's where it's originated from.
but public perception,
I
budget surplus is what a government
Got it.
needs to have. Okay. Second is, on the balance sheet, not now, this as to do, put on your to-do list. We should start adding in our principal assets.
Okay.
You know what I'm
you
talking
wanna
about?
And we talked about this last time with, I think we talked about in the last meeting, the top 3 most valuable assets.
Exactly,
Mhm.
something like that. Pick something to start with, just, you know. Okay.
You remember we were talking about
Private
joke.
Yeah, and so we were talking, so, and the last time I did talk to you about, we were gonna talk with the CPAs that do the audit and ask that question. The auditor that visited us, Brad from Powell and Jones, had expressed some concerns about putting assets against the balance sheet. You remember the other comments?
And he just said they don't go in QuickBooks, it's a separate list, which I think,
Yeah, we did find, and we can talk about this later in the assets list.
From my business experience, though, it's included in the balance sheet, and I don't, like, from accountant experience, maybe for tax purposes, that's different, or
right.
whatever, but it's an asset. This building is an asset, and we should track that. And I normally see it included in the balance sheet.
Balance sheet. I know you have it on the other sheet.
Yeah.
Well, and so what we did do, I was gonna cover this when we get to the assets over $5,000 item. But in that discussion with Brad, he's like, well, yeah, we have that document. We've been using that document, you know, your auditor's been using that document year after year. And when he gave it to us, I'm like, boom, that's what we've been looking for. It's not the version that we've had in QuickBooks.
Not the version from that.
It's not the version from the insurance company. So now we know where our assets and depreciation is being calculated from.
Right.
We have that spreadsheet. That's the document that's in your list. And so
And
I think the
see
issue
all
really is gonna come down to defining, clearing out if there's zero value in them, because a lot of them have been fully depreciated.
Yes,
Yeah.
The question would be, we still wanna track that, because there's value to the city. This
Well, it's
building
probably
is
the
zero.
first time we've actually looked at the list,
Right.
I think. that
in
I've
less
been
than
there.
10 years.
Yeah, I hadn't seen anything
CPA's
up
always
until
had it,
now.
we just never had it.
Right.
Well,
Well, at least in the
we can
last
talk about
2
that
years.
more when we get there.
Yeah.
But,
But I acknowledge, making sure we know what our assets are and the value of our key assets.
yeah, I mean, because it's actually inaccurate to say our assets are only $1.8 million. That's not true.
Right.
That's not including any of our physical assets, or vehicles, or buildings, we're worth a whole lot more than $1.8 million.
We are. I think the thing for me though, when I see that, is it kind of muddies the number a little bit, because to me that 1.8 is liquid. Like, what do we have that we can actually reach to and spend? Whereas assets is things that we've already invested in, and that's stationary money that we can't touch. You know what I'm saying? We can't sell this building, we can't, our trucks, whatever. But to me, that 1.8 is our working dollars that we can go to and use for a variety of things. So that's how I look at it in my mind. I
Yeah.
see how you want to identify it, but I don't think it should be in the total number of our liquid money that is accessible to us for whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's just the way I think. I don't know.
No, and it should be separated out
So you
that
can see
way.
it, yeah.
Right, and so that is definitely a good number to track. In fact, when we get more sophisticated, I had to use that at least once.
Of course.
When we get more sophisticated, I would like maybe at the 1 year point, at the 6 month point, for us to compare our liquid assets to previous years and say,
How
are we drawing down? Are we growing? What are we doing? Now, I think our goal, because of what research we've done and what a city should have, is that we have more than what we think we should need.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why we have not raised property taxes for 2 years now, is because we are so well off in our liquid. But we should track that
Yeah.
and see what's happening, so that when we come to determine our millage for the next fiscal year, do we want to fix that some way? Do we
Right.
want to adjust it?
We don't
And the
get
best
surprised.
way is trending
Right.
from year to year to year.
Right. I see what you're saying.
So, plant that seed also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman, did you have any questions in the subordinate data?
No, I went through your sheet very well. I looked at 2 things. I looked at, compared to the budget were we plus or minus more than 10%?
Mhm.
And then I annotated every single line item about that difference, and then I looked at where there was large differences. Like if our budget was only 500 and we spent 600, well, that's more than 10%. That's a 20%, but it's $100.
Mhm.
I didn't worry about it.
Right.
You know, it's not a big deal. But if there was more than plus or minus 10%, and there was a large difference, thousands of dollars, then that flagged for me. Something I needed to look at. And there were a couple of those, but I believe I understand everything that's going on with that, so I will fix that when we amend the budget. So I'm good.
Okay, next is the CRA, Community Redevelopment Trust Fund.
Okay. Just give me a second, Mayor. I told you I'm
Sure.
rebooting, and
No,
of course
I fully understand.
it's making me
My computer's
sign back
also really
into,
Possessed.
Do you have the app?
yeah, the authenticator.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure if it's Cloudflare or TwinGate I gotta use. I'm gonna try the TwinGate. Let's see if it like that. Look at
Yeah.
that, amazing. All our security protections working for us, but also sometimes
Working
slowing
seconds.
us
And
down.
you don't want it to work.
Oh my gosh. All right. So I apologize. So moving over to CRA.
Mhm.
Okay, so the major changes in this Community Redevelopment Agency Fund, if you just look at total income right now, year to date, this one's got some carry forward in there, so it's gonna be confusing. I think I'm just gonna go up a little bit. The real income that has come in is, you'll see total direct public support. It's underneath the first main line,
Mhm.
$128,912.43.
Okay.
And so we talked last time, a little concerning, we had no income coming into the CRA. This is the one payment that we have received from the county.
Mhm.
And if you look at that number, Tiffany and I have been trying to get through to the county person that works this.
No one works there.
It looks
No,
like,
it's just another-
it looks like that is the county increment of the CRA appropriation, or the CRA funds. And then also, back in 2004, they agreed, because of some calculation issues when they established the CRA, that every year they would give us a $17,000 grant. That just comes in our CRA payments. If you look at that, the number of 110,000 plus 17,000 of what we were expecting, that's pretty sure that's what the $128,900
So we're
is.
higher than we thought we were gonna get.
Well, it's not higher, it's about what we would expect,
Uh-huh.
but it all came in one lump sum. That's not how it has come in the past.
Okay.
We think there's some discontinuity in Clay County's staff that works this. As a matter of fact, they told us that the employee that we talked to had only been there a few months.
Yes, and she's like, I'll send out the check today. We totally missed you. I was like, thanks.
So when we called and asked about it, but it came in, it comes differently. And the other thing is last year we expected that last year we received every month or so city increment funds. And we haven't seen those come in. And so, but what we also think is what's happening is they're paying us our city increment as part of in the general fund, the overall property tax income, where they collect our property taxes for us and pay us in increments. And it looks like that city increment is just coming in that lump sum number, because it is overperforming what we expected it to.
Okay.
But the biggest issue is us going in and verifying and confirming what those numbers are, so we can get them separated out properly in our books. I say all that to say it looks like the CRA has received, or the city has likely received all of the CRA funds, or is receiving all that we should be getting for the year. We're just trying to get it cleaned up in the income line of the books. Fair?
Thank you for making that phone call.
Well,
Last week.
but when you call back, she's no longer there and no one answers.
Oh my God.
That's where we are right now.
It's frustrating.
It is.
Yeah. So, looking at the balance sheet though, and it's showing that we basically have $718,000, $635. Is that correct? For the CRA?
Oh, let me just get to the CRA balance sheet. Mary, just give me one sec here. That is,
What'd you say?
That's what it says.
that's infrastructure, trust fund. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, man.
So showing, total liabilities and equity, 718,635.
That's correct.
So is
And
that how much we have in the truck, in the?
let's see, that's another double count. So we've got the checking account at 348,000 and some change.
Yes.
And then, and that's actually what's sitting in it. That's the total amount. What you're seeing,
So you're saying, what, 300 what is correct?
I'm sorry, the first line in the assets, current assets, CRA checking account.
Yeah, 348?
Yes, ma'am, that's an accurate number of what we actually have in the CRA account currently.
Okay.
What it's doing, where it's getting that 718, that's one of the ones I was trying to describe to you.
Mhm.
That $370,000, that was the carry forward number at the beginning of the fiscal year that we brought in.
Okay,
And that's another example of it double counting,
okay, so that's a double,
correct?
gotcha. Okay.
And then what will also have to happen with this account, so when you look at that CRA checking account, what's in there right now,
Mhm.
348,599.43. We'll also likely, once we confirm with the county, have to take $100,000 of the city increment that is currently sitting in general fund
Mhm.
and move it into this account.
Okay,
And we're just waiting to confirm what the county's been doing and double check that what they've paid us in property tax income is also, did include our city increment. Once we're able to get through and confirm that.
Because it used to
but-
always come in 2 line items. Every month it would be general and then CRA. Well, we've only been getting general.
so it's probably closer to 500. One second.
Yes, ma'am. That's the short answer to what I was trying to get very efficient.
Yeah, because I look at it trying to match up the spreadsheets, or the spreadsheets, as you called it, to the balance sheet. And just trying to get the numbers to kind of make sense to me. But like you said, so I'm looking at on the tab for the CRA under the spreadsheet that you sent us.
Okay, in the budget, the mid-year budget draft?
Yes.
Mhm.
And showing where the initial budget for October 25, September 26, it's showing kind of what you're saying, 491.41.
Yes, ma'am.
So that being more the real number, most
Right.
likely, right?
It's fun trying to track down all our different income lines and keep it
Sounds
sorted
like an
out.
absolute nightmare. It just sounds like an absolute nightmare.
Well, then
I can't
Tiffany
even imagine.
has to bring them into the general fund and then identify them and then move them to their proper funds.
Yeah,
It's, God bless her, it's,
yeah.
it's fun.
Kara.
It's tedious.
It's sporty.
Good.
Overall with the CRA though, just talking about execution, let me get back to it. Community Development Trust Fund. If you look at what we've really spent out of it, if you go down to the income and expense, about midline, you'll see what we've done, and I've described this before, is we're paying the city staff back for the time spent. And so you'll see some budget lines in here for staff services and attorney's fees. That's about, so far this year, 16,500. And that's just, we basically build that and we straight line it every month. It's taken us a while to get that worked out. And this is really the first month where
It's correct.
it's clean and correct.
Mhm.
And then if you look at the other expenditures, going down to the very bottom of the page 1 of 2, where you're actually seeing significant expenditures, is park improvements. You'll see for total for this year so far, $18,300. That is the full payment for the tennis courts.
Okay.
That's been complete, paid out. The only thing that'll also, over the next month or so, we had budgeted $123,000 for the tennis courts.
Mhm.
And so we went ahead and ordered some benches and some scorekeepers and stuff like that, because we had to wreck out the old 1970 era benches and all.
Yeah.
So this will go up a little bit for the tennis courts, but not significantly, but the big payment, well, lights aren't going in there. Lights is gonna be another $40,000 to $50,000 if we ever do it. Sorry, Wendy whispered lights to me a second ago. And then streetscapes and parking improvement, you see that $17,000, 150. That's the work we did on Beam and Beasley Lane with the millings pushed in. So that's pretty much all if you look at the expenditures out of the CRA so far this first half of the fiscal year, that's what we've spent.
So my one question is that we have underspent CRA traditionally year after year, and we built up this large $350,000 amount, and the state does not like that. And so our plan was to spend a significant amount, and right now we are underspending what our plan was, which normally I would say is a great thing, but not in this case.
Yeah.
We really need to spend money and do things with it. Do we have in the works, is Bo working on contracts, or is something else going on for us to up our expenditures?
I'll go to, let me just go to it now, look on individual lines. So for streetscapes and parking improvements, we budgeted 65. And so, like we already talked about, the milling, so what still needs to happen, and we do not have forward movement on this one, is we budgeted, hold on, looking at the line item, parking design, $30,000. The reason that has been delayed since November when we walked the different parking areas is we're looking at several pieces of real estate. And CRA, I think is safe to say, one of those pieces of real estate could potentially be a very good parking solution, but we haven't been able to reach an agreement with the owner. And thus we haven't moved forward with telling an engineering firm to do some design on parking facilities until we lock down if we are going to procure or go into a real estate agreement with a particular owner on one of these properties. And so that's the major portion of streetscapes and parking that we've budgeted that we haven't moved forward at all this year. I'll pause if you
How
have
far
questions
off
on
are
that.
we are?
I would say that we're likely within a week or two of knowing if we are going to procure this property.
In financial terms, how different are we? In negotiations close, or are they asking an outrageous amount of money?
No, it's close. With the property as the real estate appraisal and where they are with their value, it's more. There's some complexities here, so I'm dancing around it, but it's more of it's what we're going to write into the agreement. That there are some concerns on that I need to work with Rich on to make sure that they're comfortable in the real estate agreement, we're comfortable legally with what we can engage in.
And if that happens, it'll probably take all that money pretty much, right?
Well, all the money of
Well, for the CRA, it'll take a good chunk of it.
this issue is tied more to a grant application.
Okay.
So, it's kind of, well, yeah, this one's tough. So we're looking at a potential grant in the future, and so we've done a real estate appraisal. We're relatively in agreement with the owner, but it depends on if the state was, the agreement's gonna be contingent on the state appropriating a grant, and that could take some time. And so that's, is the owner comfortable with the language that we write into the agreement while we go through the grant application process with the state? And so this is an ideal parking location in the downtown area as well. It's separate from the grant, but it's tied because the property parcel would come with something that's really good for parking. And so thus, though the parking design would have been separate, we looked at several locations like up in front of our old public works facility, city property along Sylvan Way, some other parcels. This is another private parcel that makes a lot of sense in the downtown area. It's separate from the grant that we're looking at, but they're nested because I would recommend to the city council we build parking there if at all possible, but it's all tied to do we get a different grant opportunity come in.
So then, so we don't know when we'll know about the grant, like before our year end, because if it's before our year end, if we don't hear about the grant by September 30th, that to move forward with that, then we'll have to have plan B
Yes,
for that money to use it, so 'cause we have to use it,
correct.
right?
Really?
So,
And we can, if we make a decision in the next couple of months, let's say that we don't get this parcel, it is not too hard for us to enter into a task order with one of our engineering firms to do design work on some of these city parcels for parking
right,
that we already have under our
because we
control.
essentially have two on Magnolia we can make into city parking.
Correct, yes. Magnolia's got a
City
few
parcel.
opportunities, but the city parcel that's in front of the Public Works, there's some right-of-way areas that we could go into parking, and there's a ton of it on Sylvan. So we could get that agreement and get that knocked out by an engineering firm well within the last 4 months that we have.
Because it'll be here for me.
Correct. Now, if we get this one grant opportunity that we're looking at, my recommendation would be, if we want to get those funds expended, we go on to something else that's a priority for the city and CRA, because the grant opportunity we're looking at has got to go an entire year. You put in the grant at the end of May, and you have to wait for the entire legislative and appropriations process over the next year that generates the state's 27, 28 budget, before we would know if we got that particular grant. And so that's,
So it's kind of a matter, this person will allow that language to be included while they hold on to the property until we get the grant.
Correct.
Essentially.
because we weren't able to get to a purchase
So
until,
it's like a goodwill situation.
correct. Or a real estate agreement, goodwill with a real estate
Yeah,
agreement
right,
backing it up.
yeah. You understand that?
Yeah,
It's a mess.
from my perception, we won't spend the money on that project, even if we do get the grant before the end of this fiscal year.
Yeah.
So
Just because we only
therefore,
got a few more months.
right, and because of how the grant is set up and blah, 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 it has to go through the legislative process and all that. So my preference would be to look for somewhere else to spend the money this fiscal year.
Yeah.
Although we do need to have engineering designs. The CRA money is to cure blight. And if there's an opportunity to purchase land in the CRA district, in the CRA area, so that we can cure blight, that would be wonderful. Like what we did with the China Chef on the corner. Now that was, everyone in the community was so happy when that happened. If there is any other opportunity like that, please take advantage. Let me just encourage you to do that, but find something else, because I don't think we're gonna be able to spend the money for this other effort till next year.
Because really, on the other thing, if the owner is willing to go into an agreement while we wait to hear back about the grant next year, that could be something that's still sitting out there to pursue in the following fiscal year,
Yeah.
on top of the grant,
Yeah.
right? It just seems, I mean, I agree with you, I think it's, the timing is, it's gonna be here, September be here before we can blink our eyes.
I think it's realistic.
And looking at, like I said, either another piece of land, or, like I say, we already own Magnolia. That building is a mess, hot mess. Maybe that building goes down and we just make that parking for now. And that money goes, a lot of that money would go into that to tear that building down and make it into public parking for now. It does have the pole barn there, that's in very good shape, but that could also be an area for venue, for like, we do some of these events, people that have, you know, their crafting fairs and whatever, you know, we
We
do
could
like
have
maybe the.
A street dance.
Yeah,
there.
because it's so close to downtown, you know, it's like right
Yeah.
there. And we really can't do much for the whole, the Lawrencescape downtown, putting a bow on it, as I will call it, until the road is done, which is not gonna be until Q1 '27. So for us to go in and do the pretty things, landscape, flowers, whatever, even, some additional lighting, benches, I think that's just gonna have to hold off until that road gets finished, cause we don't want them to come in there, tear something up that we made pretty, you know? So, so yeah, I think, yeah, looking at another, for the rest of this year, so we can spend that money and then we'll kind of attack, but I mean, I hope this thing continues on with this
Yeah, that
real
sounds
estate
good.
owner,
Yeah.
for our future needs, so.
I don't say this often though, but if we overspend this year, that's better than underspending.
Well, if you remember, and I just take us back historically, a year ago, there was a bill that didn't pass that we were all worried about, that basically said something along the lines of, if you haven't spent it and you don't have a budget line item where it's budgeted to spend on it,
Right.
then they would start to curtail, I think it was the CRA.
You're correct.
I forget the overall, obviously, that bill didn't pass, but what we have done to set conditions for that is, we did identify projects, we did budget them in to,
So they can see your black and white.
I think, to some extent, to meet the intent of what that bill was looking at, which is, don't just collect money and hold it,
Mhm.
have projects identified to spend money on, so we built it that way.
Right.
The balance there, and I agree with wanting to spend it, is it looks like a lot of money when you say you've got a couple $100,000 or $500,000, but when you do one or two projects and you're done.
Yeah.
And then you've got, like you said, we can, in the CRA, generate $220,000 a year in income.
Mhm.
So you can get a one serious project done a year, and there's money coming back in. Yeah, so there's a balancing act there.
So I'm gonna push back on that.
Yeah.
This is long before that legislation, this was an issue.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons for that legislative effort last year was because cities weren't spending their money in accordance with the guidelines that have been around for decades on CRA. So just because the legislation didn't go last year doesn't mean we shouldn't try to do the right thing in accordance with the original intent of CRA spending,
Mhm.
which is decades old, which is we need to spend this money. We cannot accumulate it from year to year, and having more than twice what we annually have in there is a bad thing. So let me just push back on that.
Mhm.
That's why the legislation happened, was because cities like us were not doing the right thing in accordance with the original guidance.
Well, and our CRA was, even when I started Heritage Commission, I didn't really know what it was. But we weren't doing anything with those funds. We weren't even having meetings. So, and I didn't know, does it get replenished every year? I mean, there was just so much, no information about it. And I know some other members were involved in it early on. But I agree with you, Jamie. I remember them saying you have to have something like you have a plan. Not that it's empty, like the space is not empty, like I talked about in the spreadsheet. That you don't, that you're thinking ahead and you are planning to spend that money on certain things. Even if we go do some parking lot improvements and the engineers and all that, it still won't take all of that, I wouldn't think. I know that when we did the corner, it took most of it because the building was right at what, 300 or whatever
I
it
think we
was.
spent 300,000 and another 20,000 to demo it.
The demolition and all that stuff, added another couple hundred or whatever it was. So, and that was a great decision, I think. But maybe I think the biggest thing to look at right now is just planning to spend what we can on the things that we need, like the parking idea. And even still, we go and convert that space over there on Magnolia, clean it up and with the pole barn, and we bring in another area for events, because it could be, or it could be parking.
Mhm.
It's something that we don't have right now, because it's just closed off, right? So it's something that we're making an effort to improve. That could be a whole area for pop-up retail, people come in and doing stuff like that. I just think it's a more usable space that we have flexibility with until we can figure out this whole grant thing. Because I know the other thing to me is a very big priority, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and maybe it's just not personal scarring. I think anything we do is improving. And
Okay.
if we spend the full amount we do,
It's being noticed, I can trust you.
it just, like the tennis court is an example where we did the right thing, we committed to $123 or
And we made it
$118,000.
happen instead of kicking it like another 2 years or 5 or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
but what I don't know, what bothers me a little is that had we looked out for other grants, we know now, we probably could have had USTA come alongside us for $60,000.
Correct, and I saw that.
And we could have done lights, and that's
But we're
why,
learning, I mean.
I agree.
And I think, there's other cities that have their own grant people, that's all they do. They
Right.
look for grants and they plan grants. Look at where we've come in such a short time, in
Yes,
my
ma'am.
opinion. It's amazing. And I'm so proud of it, and I think we live and we learn, It's
Yeah.
like, you just don't know. I mean, like, I didn't find out about that museum grant until I Googled and go, oh, well, guess what? We can do this, But, I get everything, how it's going, but, I think too, we just realistically, this was January or even December last year. I could see the whole thing happening with the owner, maybe, but to me, only a couple of months is pretty, with government, just almost not
Well, and I think really
I wish
this
you
is.
would, because I'm kind of one of those people.
Yes, ma'am. And this is the balancing act is finding grant opportunities, being patient when we need to,
Right.
and just then sometimes we may just need to make a decision, we're not gonna wait on that grant opportunity, we're just gonna get it done. So there's the balancing act, and I think you'll hear this kind of over and over again when you ask the question why we haven't spent.
Right.
If you get on the park improvements, what we talked about, so the next one is trailhead design. And so that's 40,000 that we haven't moved. We got the courts done for the let's call it 120,000. The balance of what we budgeted was for a $40,000 trailhead design to do phase 2. To some extent, just timing to get that done, but there's potential opportunities to put in for trailhead grants.
Mhm.
But we may just choose not to do that. So that one hasn't moved forward. Councilman, well, I haven't asked an engineering firm to do that design yet.
Pick
The
one.
economic, yeah.
Just pick something. Move forward on something.
Yeah. And then the last one area, just to hit it, infrastructure and facilities, we budgeted 185,000 of it, and the bulk of that is the museum.
Yeah.
And this grant opportunity that we're talking about that's kind of slowed our roll on doing this and putting engineering work in on it is the potential for a city museum.
Yeah.
That we may go procure a piece of property and ask for a state grant and procure a parcel instead of using existing city property. That's kind of what's driving all of those.
Okay.
For infrastructure, and I'm sorry, I really want to talk to you before the meeting about this, but page 23 of my packet was on the infrastructure profit and loss budget. Page 24 was on the infrastructure profit and loss budget. And page 28 was on the infrastructure profit and loss budget.
Mm-hmm.
They had the same line items, and all three had different numbers. And one of them kind of looks like it might have been a balance sheet, maybe. But I didn't understand why there were three different sheets with the same title and different numbers.
I feel like we found that, and I thought we had corrected it. I'm trying to remember what it
I
was.
don't know.
Let me go in here. Let me go in here and
You want to
see.
see what I have?
The issue sounds super familiar, Councilman. I don't doubt you, and it was something I think we dealt with last week, and maybe we didn't fix it. Oh, that's what it is. Profit and loss, and budget performance. Oh, I know what it was. This is what it was. Okay, so these two, basically what happened was this column carried it into a second page.
Correct.
And then I think we had done some edits when we posted the updated version. So this was, if I remember correctly, this is the old one, and there were a couple of line items where when we went in to do the fix to bring this column over, because we exported it out of QuickBooks, and this was in our first document. And I noticed this, and we went in to do the correction, but we reopened QuickBooks. And when we did that, instead of it being the line we snapped on, like the 1st of April, which had all of March, when we reopened it to fix it, it pulled in a few of the things that had changed in the budget and execution. And that's why we fixed it. It got that last column on the page, but a few of these numbers now represent some activity that occurred in April. And that's why some of these numbers don't exactly line up, if I remember correctly. Does that make sense?
I remember this part.
Mm-hmm. Look at the engineering expenses.
This is all the same. Basically, that should not have been in there because that line item
Right.
is right here.
I'm just looking at the execution, 4,052. I think there was one that I remember seeing, I thought was a little different, 13, 6, 7. Look at there. Well, these all look the same. Let me look at the bottom line.
I don't
15,
know.
61. There, that's what it is. When you you think you're looking at the last line here,
The last one.
but the last line here, they're all the same
So
numbers.
this should have just been on one page.
It was just pulling it in. And so we republished it,
But I didn't know
cleaned up.
We left it in.
so,
Okay.
that's what it was.
Okay. That explains it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Okay. So we've gone over CRA.
Okay, so, we doing CRA?
Uh-huh, we're in infrastructure.
Okay.
And on infrastructure, I was looking at this, well, this one, the copy that I have did the same thing. This may have a similar situation in Councilman, I don't know if yours did the same, but infrastructure carried over like that too.
That's what he brought us.
Oh, that was the infrastructure, okay, that's the one you were looking at,
Yeah.
asking about. All right. Mary, did you have any questions on infrastructure in particular? Or council?
Let's see here. Not anything that I can think of that was, glaring. I mean, I just see a lot of negative numbers on the, row 40 of the spreadsheet.
Okay, when we're actually talking the mid-year budget? Okay, and that's gonna be, I can pull that up.
And I see it says at mid-year, we have a note there, why?
Yeah, and it's gonna be that way, Madam Mayor, because if you look at, if you look on this, the profit and loss from last month, you'll see the income that's come in, the first one, local government infrastructure, that is $104,000 and some change. And then you'll see a carry forward number, $895,000. So that was coming into the fiscal year with the bank account and the CDs for infrastructure, correct? And so what happens in the mid-year budget that you're looking at on the spreadsheet is that carry forward is, that number's come out. I've taken that out.
Oh, okay.
And so what that does is when you look at after expenses on projects that we've budgeted for this fiscal year, now that account shows as we're spending more in the fiscal year than we brought in the income.
Okay.
And whereas before it had the carry forward that kind of negated, it balanced out. Because we have that asset, that those funds available to spend. When I took out the carry forward out of the fiscal year budget, that's where all those negatives start to show up.
Okay.
Because you don't have the balance sitting in the annual budget that offsets it, though the funds are there in the balance sheet. And this is what you get for not having a chief financial officer as your city manager.
We'll get it. We'll get it. That'll be good. Just be the turtle.
What I will tell you, if you look at overall expenses so far this year, Nightingale Culvert Repair down about the middle of the page is $13,300. That's just continuing design efforts and work by our engineering firm ICE. And then the Resilient Florida Vulnerability Assessment, $6,750. That's the first increment to Shenmore and Associates to do that vulnerability assessment for the year. And then I'm trying to remember the capital outlay other. Oh, 7,000. So in capital outlay other, that's 7,150. That is design efforts to. I gotta look at that one again. I think that's the first billing on the hourly work by ICE that we had to do. We were doing some grant work with them, if I remember correctly. Let me go back to the cemetery infrastructure. Oh, I take that back. That's Carter Way ditch box. So that was what we did off on Carter Way to get the water flowing properly and slow it down. So that was a construction project, $7,150.
Okay. Any questions? We'll move over to cemetery.
All right, cemetery. Make sure I got it, profit and loss. If you look total coming into the cemetery so far in profit year to date is $24,426.71. So if you figured that and doubled it for the next year, it'd be just a little shy of 50,000. We think that's likely gonna come in higher because it's not reflecting, we changed the burial plot cost from $1,000 to $2,000. So any future burial plots that we see over the rest of the year are gonna increase that income. But we are performing better this year than we had previous year, and we definitely performing higher than the initial budget because of those changes. And then if you look down a little bit lower at expenses, you'll see some similar costs coming out for staff support, staff services. And then, Tiffany, you mind pulling that door real quick? The other expenses that you've seen, we talked about this a little bit last time, were building repairs. And as this one, we were at $17,500 of the $18,000 budget. And that was the whole roof, doors, lighting, electrical effort that we've done to get that building out there back up and running. Equipment and maintenance repairs at $5,000. If I remember correctly, and I can pull that up here in a sec, that went towards, we've done a lot of work on a well out there and the sprinkler system, the irrigation system out of the cemetery. I have proposed some amendments to move some of these funds around we've still got probably, I'm guessing, around $1,000 at the building to get the air conditioning system fixed out there. That's the last expected expense. And I think that was it. And so I did some, in the mid-year budget, I moved some money, I proposed moving some money around to get that balance out. Not expending any more than we had proposed, but to get the funds in the right accounts.
Cemetery looks amazing. I read by there just yesterday again, and it just jumps, like, just looks so nice and pristine looking, you know? Just all the work, you could just start to see it. I mean, I know it seems like a lot because it wasn't like there was a huge facelift or anything, but it's just the simple stuff that make it look so much more inviting and neat, you know?
Lipstick and rouge.
Well,
Lipstick and rouge.
Yeah.
no, it's Matt and the team have done a lot of work out there, and I appreciate your comment
I see
there.
them out there all the time.
And I think it's going to look better. We've got that initial treatment to stop the sand spurs. It's really just fertilizer, but it's a fertilizer sand spurs aren't happy with. But in general, there's been a lot of effort out there over the last year, and it's definitely showing.
Definitely
And then
does.
their effort to clean up the trinkets around a lot of the burial sites
Like
is
all around the
helping out.
fencing and all, when you come
Yep.
down the road, it just looks so much nicer. All right, so we will move to the assets over 5,000 spreadsheet that you provided for us.
Yes, Madam Mayor, and
Appreciate
so we've already kind of talked about that a little bit. So
Mhm.
this is a new spreadsheet that you haven't seen, but ultimately it's the one that our auditors have been using.
Mhm.
And so once we got that a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, I've already gone through it and made some potential strikes and adds. Bo's looking it over. We're going to cross compare between the documents that we have inside of QuickBooks. We're going to look at the documents that we have from our insurance company, and then we're just going to walk around and actually double check our assets to make sure that we get this updated, and then work with the auditors to make sure that we're not trying to drop something off that has a critical impact. So we want to do this right, so that when they come back and do the audit a year from now, we haven't done anything on the books so that they would cause issues with the audit. But to make sure that it's accurate and shows the value of the assets we have, as Councilman Lewandowski's been bringing up.
Well, I mean, it's a ton of work.
If I may, in the interest of time,
Mhm.
can I suggest that we push this off to our next meeting?
Okay, we can do that, to go into a little more detail with
Right.
it. Okay.
And discuss the approach, and the city manager has indicated he would like to do a little more work too.
Yeah.
And so therefore, let's get to the major task that I really want to make sure we finish today, which is our budget amendments for the current fiscal year.
Y'all good with that?
I am good, ready to shift to it.
But I do appreciate the work on this depreciation
Oh, yeah.
schedule. I don't think I've ever
Great.
seen anything. I have never
No,
seen
this
this
is great.
ever. So the amount of work that goes into that is just amazing. Gives me a lot of confidence with what we have here. Okay, go ahead, Dan.
All right, so I guess we're moving on to the recommended budget amendments.
Yes, sir.
And by my count, there's 78 of them.
That sounds about right.
Originally, I had flagged 17. So my observation on the general comment is you have been very thorough, and I appreciate that. You have identified everywhere, I think, where a budget amendment could be used and would be appropriate. And I've gone through and I have numbered all 78 of them. And I think rather than going through every single one of these, I only have questions about a few of them. And perhaps if we would just focus on that, I think the vast majority there's absolutely no problem with, and I would stamp it and approve it and say, great. I mean, if you're okay with that.
And Councilman and Mayor, so a lot of what's happened in here, we talked a couple months ago about increased expenses that had major impact. We also talked about a lot of different areas where the staff has found ways to reduce costs. And so all that's factored in. If you look broadly, our income is projected to be maybe 100,000 more than expected. We've been able to balance, and then that balances a lot of additional costs. And when we started the general fund budget, it was going to approve let's call it a deficit spend of about $70,000 this year. We managed with all the cost changes and then income increases, we're landing in a little lower than that. I want to say it's like $65,000. It's a little lower. I tried to get it all in there and keep it about the same deficit that y'all approved at the beginning of the fiscal year. That was kind of my broad statements, and Councilman ready to answer any questions you have on the individuals.
No, so first I'd like to thank you for color coding this. So the brownish red is something that we're going to amend it and it's amended down.
It's the best way to say it is if it's on the income side, it's a reduced income. It's a red, and if it's on the expenses side, red is an increased expense. Just to call your attention to it.
And the green is in our favor.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I could talk about small stuff. There's some things in here that are one-time things, and so what I would like to do is make sure that our corporate numbering doesn't carry over this number to next year because it's a one-time thing.
Yes.
But I don't need to go over that right now.
Well, and I can say broadly, the spreadsheet that you see in front of you is tailored to just what changed. The spreadsheet that I use to work off of carries that knowledge forward, so that when we pre-budget next year, the 19,000 that we got from waste management, we don't build that back into next year, but I give as an example.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So I can go therefore all the way to the third page. And this is on the second page. It's called Finance and Admin Operating Expenses, but the items aren't until the third page, and they are 514005 and 514006. The Parks and Rec Manager and the Economic Development Person. And you have gone and zeroed that out.
I did, yes, sir.
And so my question is, does that mean you're not even going to try to hire anyone at all for the rest of the fiscal year?
I did not see capability, capacity to do that this year. No, sir.
Well, that's unfortunate. I want to support you, and one of the ways I get to support you is to get you more people to help you. And now you're saying you don't want the people.
Well, it's not that I don't want the people, Councilman, it's just, when we're talking, trying to find somebody in a permanent position is one thing. Trying to find somebody who's willing to work part-time for about $500 a month is another. And then the other issue is, for a Parks and Rec manager, I have to develop what we're gonna do with that person. And then do we have, so we bring somebody on, but, well, I don't have a budget line that they would be able to spend. I would put them on projects that we're already managing. And so, it just seems it would be tough to, number one, find somebody that's willing to work part-time. And then, I'm not sure what I would do with a dedicated Parks and Rec manager. And then, and just,
I mean, I see where you're coming from, you know, we gotta look at it like, until this water is back, I mean, we're seeing people coming from outside of the city, using all of our services here. But I think until it comes back, really does come back, that's when we're gonna probably have a need for having someone a little bit more, in a full-time status, who would also be over, maybe it kind of gets incorporated to the whole events role, and bringing things here to town, sports events, person who oversees the tennis courts and all those things. We've just redone all that stuff, you know, so it's all still new. And I think that until we can really justify that role and what their responsibilities, I mean, we go to other cities and see what those people do. We just don't have enough of those services right now to justify that, I think. Just the way we're structured right now. At some point, I think we will, for sure.
So my vision was to approach the president of the Keystone Heights Sports Association, because they run Twin Lakes Park and they run the programs out there, softball, baseball, football, perhaps include the soccer association president also, and ask them if they either know somebody or would be willing to perform this themselves. And my vision was to get them, if we paid them $500 a month, to hold events like a tennis tournament or a beach volleyball tournament or just whatever, something happening in a park, something that is athletic in nature or fun in nature, you know, a bark in the park event.
I mean, that's pretty much what Drew does.
What's that?
That's pretty much what Drew does.
I know, but Drew has so many things to do. I'd love to take something off her plate so she can focus on July 4th and Christmas and everything else she does. And so that was my vision. So I'm not looking for someone to redesign our parks. That is not what this is about. This is just about utilization of our parks and meshing it with other park-like activities at Twin Lakes. And why can't I remember what the soccer stuff takes place at?
Little Rain Lake.
Little Rain Lakes. Okay. Yeah, I may have given those two first, but those are the two. And because if we were a big city, we would be doing that. We would be running the local soccer league and running our Parks and Rec would do that. I've lived in cities, I've been part of that. That's what we would do. And so right now that's completely outside of us. And what I'm trying to do is get synergy so we don't duplicate, so we don't have scheduled conflicts, so that the community can have sports and recreation events on a regular basis. And it's not just Twin Lakes doing its thing and Little Rain Lake doing its thing and the city doing its thing.
Well, maybe it's a role that is just looking specifically at sports type activities, not necessarily July 4th, all the other things like Drew's involved in. But it's kind of like an add-on to what she's doing. So like she's hosting working on this tennis tournament for this weekend. So that's one of them. And the little motor surf thing is a sport event that she did also before. So maybe somebody who has a little bit of focus and maybe those connections to help bring more sporting type events on top of what we're already doing, and to assist with her to try to host it. I don't know. And it'd be just a part-time kind of thing, just to kind of get, you know, it's like we're trying to still hit that middle age group interest. I mean, it's an ad, but maybe it's not full-time. It's just like a consultant, like we hire Kevin. $600 a month.
All right, so I want to be supportive if you want to not do this, but what I would ask is that you be open, if an opportunity presents itself, please do not say, well, we don't have any money in the budget for that. That would be the
I
absolute.
can see it
wrong
being
answer.
like a, thing like we're doing Catherine in 6 months, see how it goes, see what they can bring to the table, due to their relationships, and trying to bring it on top of what we're already doing.
And if I remember correctly, the presidents of those two associations, the Keystone Heights Sports Association and the Soccer Association, they don't get paid a dime. They're volunteers, and so if we throw a little money their way and they can contribute to the city, I mean, for me, this is peanuts. This is hardly any money at all. Now, maybe they're so busy they can't do that. Okay, that's an option. Okay, that's understandable, I should say. But that was just my vision. So I'll support you on this. What you want to do? But please, if an opportunity comes up, grab it. Don't deny it just because there's no money in the budget. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've heard me, Councilman, there's a bandwidth issue on the
Yep.
staff and with the city manager.
Yeah.
Someone encouraged me to voice my issues and concerns as part of my leadership pledge.
And I want to get you help. This is one way I can.
Well, but we're also creating more to do, and so I don't disagree with you, and I appreciate that. But with more staff comes more expectations, and then there's more management, and then there's just a bandwidth issue. I will tell you, I'm spending a whole lot more time than 40 hours a week right now trying to manage everything we've got going. And when I hear let's do more, and I get it that we want to do that for the city, I just have a concern about hours of the day. And so to be perfectly honest with you, I had someone call me the other day. I was telling the mayor and said, a previous mayor of the city died. She was buried yesterday. What's the city going to do about it? And I said, nothing until the city council tells me what I'm going to do, because we got a bunch of other stuff going on. And I'm sure, and I hopefully, I'm very sad that we lost a former mayor, and I wish we'd known a little bit earlier. And it's right about acknowledging them, but there's just a balance of a lot of people look to the city to get things done and do more things, and there's only so many hours in the day, and there's nobody hanging around the water cooler jack-jawing around here.
Well, and I hear you, because, you gotta remember, we have to be realistic. Less than 2 years ago, we had 2 people in this building. And then we had no events, we had just a handful of events, maybe. So to see the progress that's happened in a short 24 months is mind-boggling to me. Even with a small staff, you got a great staff. Everyone is just very talented, very supportive, and I've had people work for me and say, that's not my job. But we don't have any of that. So the thing is, we both want it, but we also gotta be realistic too. And I understand, because I know you got that strategic plan, it's our Bible, and we're following it, and that's why we're getting stuff done. And maybe when we get ready to do it again in another year or so, these are things that we should keep our eyes open for, just like when we added Catherine for the PIO thing, it's been a big help. And then maybe down the road, that's what we do in this other thing with and I don't disagree to bring the whole sports influence here, but I hear you. It's just something else to be focused on and trying to work and make happen. Because it takes more than one person. It's a combination of people. Drew does a lot, but she has a lot of help too. Or she could not do all of that.
Particularly on the day of execution, yes ma'am.
To execute it, just like Chicago this weekend, Heritage Commission's put it on, but our staffing has put in numbers of hours by transporting all this stuff over there, tearing it down, taking it back. Those are things they could be doing, other things in the city. I know it's their job, essentially, but we just have to keep all this stuff in mind, So I hear what you're saying.
Yes ma'am.
Just in some historic note, up to 2005, we had 23 employees in the city. So we have been much larger than we are around now.
I know that.
Yes. When the whole real estate bust happened and prices dropped and this city staff was devastated. We lost more than half the staff. So there is some historical precedence.
I can't imagine we put 25 people. We don't have offices right now, we had to rent offices.
Yeah, no, I don't know what they did either.
Yeah, it's pretty
But
crazy.
they had 23 people.
Hmm.
So anyway, all right, let's move on. I am not sure, let's see, where is it here? Oh, here it is. Same page, under personnel services, we have the contingency for the city manager and the contingency for the mayor and council. And you've reduced those as you don't see them being expended. However, historically, we have a very large expenditure that occurs in August.
Yes, sir.
With all of us going to the Florida League of Cities convention. And so therefore, have you happened to run the numbers, and is 10,000 enough for all of us to go and do that as we normally do?
If you look at, we expended last year 8,000 with, I think the mayor went, you attended, Councilman Knight, Councilman Welch, I think only, Vice Mayor didn't attend, if I remember correctly.
I don't think Speedy did either.
You're
Yes,
right,
we did.
Vice Mayor, Councilor, sorry, when I said Vice Mayor. And so, when I did those numbers, I thought that it would land about right around 10,000, if we did have a little larger attendance and the costs were relatively the same. And so I was looking at that 8,472 from last year's execution as an example, that 10 gave us 1,500 buffer over it.
Okay,
And so I was comfortable that that would be enough.
okay, that was my only question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Once again, I am just flabbergasted by our health FRS match and all of these benefits. So where are we with hiring an HR expert to come in and do a study?
I have not moved forward, other than budgeting for it now.
And my guy, the Florida League of Mayors, did not get back to me yet, so I'm just gonna reach out a different route.
I take that back. I know the mayor's looking. I've reached out. I had one source. I think I mentioned this maybe last month. There is a Florida Human Resources Professional Organization that I've got contact information on. They responded to me. I just hadn't followed up with them again.
Those were my only comments on 78.
And I did budget $10,000 for that in the mid-year
I saw that.
to make room for it.
I saw that.
Okay, I think we're good, right?
Yeah. For next meeting then, assuming the council meeting approves your budget amendment recommendations, which I'm gonna support, there are, one other thing though, and that is, kiosks. This is, of course, a personal agenda item for me, that I would like us to get some kiosks, some professional kiosks for use at festivals and big events and that kind of a thing. And this would be the time to put in the budget if we were going to do it this year.
Kiosk for entry into events and stuff? Or-
No, this is like my Christmas market
Oh,
type idea.
yeah, you're talking about, the stand-up.
Yes.
I call it
Right.
pop-up retail, but same kind of thing essentially. Same
Okay.
what you're talking about.
Mhm. And so this would be the place to put that in if we were going to do it in this fiscal year, in this budget amendment. And so maybe it's
That kind
something.
of goes into CRA, doesn't it? Or is that infrastructure?
You could do it in CRA, you could do it in general fund. And CRA is a little sketchy because
Probably
the legislature's been frowning on events being funded in the CRA, so I specifically took anything that was events related out of our CRA budget and just looked at infrastructure type of items.
So, I think we ought to have a workshop to talk about that, because I'm all about that as well.
Okay.
But I think it's gotta be something that's open throughout the year. It's just besides Christmas, and open to people who wanna rent that space from us throughout the year. And, because I'd hate to see first of all, you can't just pick it up, move it somewhere and store it because.
Actually, they can.
Well, I mean, that's why we need to have a workshop. We need to talk about the options and what makes the most sense, that we have the most use. I can't see doing something that's just a one-time.
It's not one time.
But I mean, it's like throughout the year, I think we have enough people locally that do crafting and sell things, and we have 6 to 7% retail in the city of Keystone, and we need to increase that. Might be a little higher now since some of these places have opened up, but that's a hole we have. And so I think a workshop would be good to kind of share it with everyone and see what we think is the right thing to think about. So I don't disagree. I think it's something we need to talk about.
Okay. All right. So for our next meeting, besides our normal monthly review of finances, the two things would be our asset review and then a first draft budget for next year, or at least a discussion about budget for next year. That we need to get started on that because it's approaching. It'll be here.
Oh, but I'd say getting through the mid-year is helpful, and it's a pretty quick generation of a next year's budget with some tweaks and all that. No problem doing that.
Why do we want to have that meeting?
You talking about the workshop, Mayor, or are you talking about?
So the next, to do the next budget finance meeting.
We are scheduled for. All right. February, March, April, May. So the May budget and finance is scheduled for the 26th of May.
26th of May. Okay. I'm good.
Yep. 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, if I remember correct, it should be. That's just the regular reoccurring schedule,
Okay. I just didn't have one.
with a focus on the assets and then next fiscal year, but also doing a review of April's performance.
Right.
Okay. Sounds good. Are we done?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.